So what I actually am is a wildlife rehabilitator. I'm licensed here with the state of New Jersey. What a wildlife rehabilitator is, and a home rehabilitator like I am, we're volunteers and we do a service to the community. We take in orphaned and injured wildlife. My specialty, although I do have chipmunks, flying squirrels, and other animals, are rabbits. When is an animal orphaned or injured? It's very obvious when you find an injured animal by the side of the road. If it's been hit by a car, there's usually not a lot of hope. Sometimes there is. That's when you would call a wildlife rehabilitator. The other time to call a rehabilitator is if you feel that the nest of rabbits, in this case, what I'm speaking about, has been abandoned. Of the probably 200 rabbits I get every year that people think have been abandoned and orphaned, I'd say maybe 10 actually have been. There's a real disconnect between when an animal needs to be rescued, when a nest of rabbits is found and they need to be taken to a rehabber, and when they should honestly just be left alone. So how does this happen? Sometimes people find the nest when they're landscaping, it's on their property, and they don't want them there. They're afraid of wildlife, they don't know if there might be diseases, if they carry Lyme disease, they have ticks, and so they'll call and ask you to remove them. This is actually illegal. The rabbits have the right to your property more than you do. You need to leave them where they are unless they are a nuisance. Rabbits are never a nuisance. Squirrels can get into your house. They can possibly, or a raccoon visiting, can climb in your attics and chew up the wires. This is considered a nuisance. But rabbits are never a nuisance. So you can't just take them away, give them to an exterminator, or have a wildlife rehabber take care of them. That's actually kidnapping. And there's a mother that's going to be looking for them. And it's a nursing mother, and she needs to be with them. So how else might you think they need to be rescued? Your kids find them. They're cute little bunnies. It's Easter. They think they have them free presents, free little Easter bunnies. Again, illegal. You can't keep them as pets. But here's the biggest misconception that we've heard. There's a myth going around that if you touch a wild animal baby, the mother will not take it back. It's not true. People say this mostly about birds. Birds don't even have a sense of smell. They don't have noses. When people tell me this, that their kids have touched the baby animal and the baby bunny and now they can't put it back in the nest, I say, if your kid was out in the woods and a wild animal came up and licked them, would you take them back? Most of the time, they say yes. So that's true with mother rabbits and most other wild mothers. They're not going to abandon their babies because of how they smell. So put the bunnies back in the nest. Now another problem is your dog finds them. Brings you a baby bunny. First, examine it for injuries. If it is indeed injured, if it's bleeding, it looks like it has a broken leg, something's wrong with it, absolutely call a rehabilitator. However, if it looks like it's fine, see if you can get the dog to show you where the nest is. Sometimes it's difficult to locate the nest. They're usually in the middle of a yard. You can look for a piece of dead grass. The nest is about the size of your hand. It's a very shallow nest. Feel around, it will have the mother's fur inside, and you will feel the other warm, squirming babies. Put the baby that was with the dog back in the nest. Mother doesn't care about the dog smell either. However, let's say your cat, and it could be your house cat, a feral cat, brings you as a lovely gift this little bunny. That has to get to a rehabber or a vet. Cats, if they're domestic or feral, have a lot of really harmful bacteria in their claws and in their mouths. And a baby animal absolutely will need to get an antibiotic in it to counteract that within the first 24 hours. So if it's a cat that brought you the baby bunny, call the wildlife rehabilitator. Now the other problem that happens is people will put the baby bunnies back in the nest as instructed. Then they'll watch the nest from the window or nearby, and the mother doesn't come back. They call me again. It's been 2 hours. We put cameras on the nest. The mother hasn't been back. We've been watching it all day. The mothers may not have been very smart about where they put the nest, in your flower pot, your front yard, the middle of your yard, school yards, but they're pretty clever about not calling attention to the nest during the day. So you're not going to see the mother at the nest. You shouldn't see her ever, really. She might be around the nest, sort of in the vicinity. It might not even be her. It could be a male rabbit that happens to be around. But she's only going to come and feed them when it's completely dark out, and there's no chance of predators or humans seeing her. So she'll come at dusk and at dawn to feed them, and you won't see her. Now, if you're really, really worried, there's a way to tell if the mother has been back. Most of the stuff on the internet that you read is not true. Pouring baby powder around to see if she leaves little footprints, baking soda, flour, putting string or dental floss over the nest is not going to make a difference. She's not going to disturb that. The mother actually stands over the nest and the babies come up and nurse. The really true way to tell if the mother has been back or not is to get 4 sticks about the size of chopsticks or pickup sticks, natural ones that are around, and make a tic-tac-toe pattern on top of the nest. When the mother comes back the next morning, you will be able to tell because at least one of the sticks will be disturbed. In that case, again, leave the bunnies alone. Now, if you're still worried and you want to keep checking on the bunnies every morning to see if they're okay, as long as they just look like normal little bunnies and they grow pretty quickly, that's fine. If they start to look like their skin is super wrinkly, they may be dehydrated, so keep an eye on them. If you go and one bunny is dead in the nest, remove it and check again the next day. If another bunny's dead, call a wildlife rehabber. The other very important thing to look for is if you take the bunnies out of the nest and their stomachs look really full, like almost like a bright red water balloon. This means the mother has definitely not been back because it means that they have filled up with gases. Because when their eyes are still closed, the baby bunny's mother has to actually ingest all their feces and urine so that the scent of it will not attract predators. So if the mother is not doing this, they get bloat and their stomachs become very distended. That's when you call a wildlife rehabilitator. Now, let's say you don't want to put them back because you're doing construction, or you find them and it's just absolutely impossible to keep them there. You do have the option of moving the nest, relocating it, but for that you would need, again, the advice of a wildlife rehabilitator. How far away you can move the nest, you can't move it from like the backyard to the front yard. Someone will be able to help you with that. But the bunnies grow really fast, so the good news is they're going to be out of your yard pretty quickly. She may make another nest in the exact same spot, again in the season or next year, but what you can do to keep traffic away from it or the lawnmower or your kids is to put a lawn chair over where the nest is, make people aware. The mother then can get in and out. Now let's say you have a dog that after they discover the nest and they have to go out because you don't like to walk them in the front yard, so they have to be in the backyard, and the dog keeps going back to the nest and bringing you back baby bunnies. We recommend then that you would take some kind of either a little Tykes playground or even better, a big ceramic flower pot and put it over the nest during the day. It has to be vented at the top so that they can breathe. And then make sure that you take it off at night as soon as it starts getting dark out and then replace it again in the morning so that the mother can feed the babies. Now you may find that suddenly the babies disappeared in the middle of the night and you're all worried. What happened in that case is most likely that the mother has decided that there's just too much activity going on around the nest and she herself has relocated them. So still, they're okay. So when else should you call a wildlife rehabilitator? If you see flies around the nest, call a rehabilitator. If you find one dead rabbit, as I said before, and then another the next day, call the wildlife rehabilitator. If you see the bunnies with their eyes still closed, coming out of the nest and not staying in it, call a wildlife rehabilitator. And again, absolutely do it when it's been with a cat or it has any visible signs of injury. Now remember, when you call the wildlife rehabilitators, especially here in New Jersey, there are very few of us left. Most of us work 1 or 2 or 3 other jobs. In my case, I work 4 to help support my rabbit habit. So we don't always get back to you right away. Texting is always a good thing. Please don't call us in the middle of the night or at 6 in the morning and say, get these bunnies out of my yard. We're not an exterminator service. We're here to provide a service to the community, and we're all working really hard to do it. As I said before, there's a shortage of us. So if there are any people that are at all interested, kids upcoming, and want to help a rehabilitator or want to learn how to do it, it's a very rewarding job. You get to save animal lives, you get to do a service to the public, and frankly, they're adorable. Thank you.